Instant movement!
Seiichi Hiiragi is in his second year of high school when he goes to another world and meets a beautiful woman with red hair who tells him she loves him and wants to marry him. This makes Seiichi feel helpless, and he starts to think about how he ended up in this situation. Back on our planet, Seiichi was always picked on and disliked because of how he looked and smelled. One day, before classes started, a voice came over the intercom and spoke to his whole class. It said it was God and told them they were all going to be taken to another world where they would become heroes. The God gives them some powers and tells them to stick together for safety. But Seiichi can't join any groups and ends up on his own. When he was taken to the other world, God gave him some extra powers to help him out. This means that he could find himself alone in a huge forest in a place he doesn't know. He has been lost for days and needs to find something to eat. Some creatures suddenly bump into him, but they don't care about him and keep going. But they leave a big fruit behind, which Seiichi can figure out by using the powers. God gave him a fruit. It turns out that the fruit is a fruit of evolution, even though it tastes terrible, and she eats it to save his life. He hears a voice telling him that evolution will take place. But since nothing obvious happens, Seiichi keeps looking for more food. He finds the creatures that bumped into him earlier. Some time goes by, and Seiichi ends up eating all of the fruits he stole from the monkeys, which keeps making him better at what he does. Suddenly, one of these monkeys jumps out and attacks him. A very strong monkey easily beats Seiichi, but just as it is about to eat him, the monkey inhales Seiichi's body odor and dies because God gave him extra powers. Seiichi is able to get all the resources and abilities that the monkey has. This causes the fruits he ate to make him evolve, which changes his body, makes him very charming, and boosts his abilities to unimaginable levels. Seiichi realizes he hasn't even finished 1/10 of his evolutions yet. After 5 months, she told him that she had been wandering around the huge forest and making maps of the area using the information he gets from killing monsters. At this point, he has evolved through 9 of the 10 possible stages. While he looks at his stats, a group of monkeys led by a reddish-pink gorilla attack her. The gorilla wants to fight Seiichi because he is strong and has nothing better to do. During the fight, he fights against the very powerful gorilla. The gorilla is so impressed by Seiichi's strength that it starts to like him and tells him her name is Saria. The gorilla gives it his all to beat him. Even with all of his evolutions, he is not strong enough to beat Saria if he has no other options. Left, Seiichi decides to try to get rid of her with his body odor, but this only makes her fall for him more. Even more, Saria decides that she wants Seiichi as her mate, so she picks him up and carries him to her lair. She keeps treating him well to try to get him to marry her, but Seiichi is repulsed by the idea of marrying a gorilla and says no. Seiichi learns from talking to her that she was telling the other monkeys to gather the fruits of evolution for her. She planned to give those fruits to the man she would marry if they were stolen. Seiichi decides to be honest, so he tells Saria that he stole the fruits and ate them because he was hungry. Saria forgives him, but tells him that if anyone eats 11 of those fruits, they will die. Seiichi is glad he learned that, because he had already eaten 10 of them. Saria leaves her lair to go hunting, giving Seiichi a chance to escape in the meantime. All of the other students who were called into this world are where the Kaiser Empire bears. They have been told to get ready to fight the demon by the king. Lord, since that's what they're supposed to do in this world, Seiichi decides to head for the unexplored part of the forest, where monsters are afraid to go. Saria tries to stop him, but he doesn't listen. Instead, he keeps going and goes into a scary place inside the dungeon. He meets the skeleton who is the Dark Lord, Xenos. He is sad that the first humanist, a weakling, finds his tomb just as Xenos is about to kill Seiichi. Saria jumps in front of him and uses her body to protect him. The blow knocks Saria down, and the only thing that keeps her alive a little longer after that is her ability to suffer. Seiichi rushes to her side, crying as he realizes how important he was to her. He says he's sorry for being so mean to her because she's a gorilla. When she lashes out at him, he says he loves Saria because she's been nothing but kind to him. This makes Xenos very angry. When Seiichi realizes that Saria is going to die soon, he uses all of his powers to break through Xenos' defenses and kill him before disappearing. Xenos is comforted by the spirit of a girl in a maid's uniform. When the city comes back to Saria's side, it kisses her just as she's about to vanish. But instead of vanishing, she changes into her final evolution. So she takes on the appearance of the beautiful human girl with red hair from the start. Thanks to Saria's abilities, he can get all of Xenos' powers and learn about his past. It ends up about 1500 years ago. Zenos was a noble who was betrayed by his emperor. Seiichi and Saria are happy that they finally killed his spirit. Seiichi's final evolution happens all of a sudden, too, and his stats get even better. Seiichi decides to take charge of the forest and go out into the world, and Saria is happy to go with him. Suddenly, a small creature that looks like a sheep in his suit walks up to them and introduces himself. The same as Mr. He tells them how happy he is that they finished the dungeon and gives them a few rewards. Then, he teleports them out of the forest so they can go on their next adventure. Seiichi decides to go to the nearest town and join the adventurers with Saria. This will help them get proof of identification, which they will need if he wants to find his old classmates on their way to the town city. She wins against a tough slime. This makes the gear they got from Mr. Sheep level up and changes how they look. Mr. Sheep tells them in a message that the gear they got from him will keep growing with them. When they try to get into the town, they are stopped by the guard, Claude, who is surprised that they don't have proof of identification. However, with the help of a magic tool, Claude is able to figure out if they are good or evil. He doesn't mind letting them into town, but he tries to stop them from going to the Adventurers Guild by telling them not to make decisions too quickly. Seiichi and Saria find the Adventurers Guild. It was once said, Seiichi gets what Claude was getting at. The Adventurers Guild turns out to be full of perverts with different kinds of kinks. Just as the two of them were about to leave, Gussel, the guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild, came up to them. He is very interested in his own muscles and always strikes poses. While he talks, he goes into the guild, where the blonde receptionist Eris helps convince them to join once Seiichi has signed them up. 3 strangely dressed people burst into the guild, see how charming city she is, and take him outside. They want to do bad things to him and say it's part of the initiation, but he can easily get away from them. When he gets back to the guild, the guildmaster is surprised that he was able to get away from the notorious trio. He wants to see if the two of them have what it takes to become adventurers. They are assigned in a rank adventure that tells someone to keep an eye on them while they do a few tasks. The story is about a woman named Altria who has short, white hair. Altria doesn't like that arrangement, but in the end, Gussel is able to get her to agree to it. One of the tasks is to help out around the orphanage, so Saria does that one by herself, while Altria and Seiichi move on to the next one. Sage's job is to knock down an old building, but as soon as he walks into the room, it falls on him. Altria gets scared and tries to dig away to get to where Saint was. She thinks about how she is always surrounded by bad luck and how it always spreads to the people around her. Seiichi, on the other hand, is able to get out of this whole mess because his stats are too good. Altria is relieved, but she still scolds him for going ahead on his own and being reckless. She says that adventurers need to be able to sense danger. They want to keep on living. In the meantime, some of the other students who were called to this world are practicing basic fighting skills with each other. The commander in charge of Zakia's training asks why they had to be called to fight demons. He says that they come from a peaceful world, so he doesn't want them to risk their lives for something that doesn't matter, even though they didn't do anything wrong. The guildmaster gives Seiichi and Saria their reward and tells them to go rest for the day. She then realizes that they have nowhere to stay. Altria tells them that they can stay at the same inn. She is staying, which they are happy to accept the next day. Seiichi and Survey have to find medicinal herbs to move on to the next task, but Saria can find the herbs quickly. Seiichi has trouble because he can only find rare ingredients and none of the common healing herbs, even though he tries hard to find them. 3 demons are up to no good when he finds them. In the woods nearby, they called up a troll to kill Seiichi, but after he stops the troll's huge club with one hand, he breaks it with the other. They decide it's best to leave him alone and run away. When they get back to Altria, they don't have the herbs they were looking for, but they have even rare ones. She decides to let him off the hook by giving him some of the herbs she's been gathering while he's been working. The 3 demons went back to their leader, Leah, who is also a captain in the army of the Demon Lord. They said that they had set up teleportation traps all over the area where they were, which would send any humans who didn't know what was going on straight to the dungeon of the Black Dragon Gods. Even though she likes what they did, she decides to punish them because they didn't do what she told them to do, and they only have one more test. Altria brings City Cheat and Sirius to the field, where they will have to fight some slimes. But just as they are about to fight Altria, before they can find a way out of the magical minefield, Altruist steps on one of the traps. Suddenly, the 3 of them are deep inside the Black Dragon Gods, Dungeon and Dragon. God knows right away that they are there. That's it for this part, so let's wait for the next one to see how things go. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel and don't miss out on the other entertaining anime videos. Peace out.